Good morning, good morning. Let's get started here on our daily devotion. We are in Revelation chapter 14 in the new NIV and in the New King James. Before we get started, let's go ahead and pray. Lord God, thank you again for just providing life to us now as we can hear and understand what we're listening to now and reading. I thank you for the opportunity just to be alive another day. I pray that you would be glorified in this time and also just today, that we would live a life that glorifies you, that's within your will, that's that we acknowledge and share who you are through our words, through our deeds. I just pray that you would help us really know how to focus in on your word, that we would understand, learn, and grow from it, how it affect our lives. Help us really know what it is you want us to know in this book of Revelation, in this 14th chapter. I also want to lift up those who I know who are struggling right now. God, I know there are plenty of people that are having financial issues, marital issues, work issues, issues with children. I pray, God, that you would just continue to work in those people's lives, and that they would know that you love them, you would plan for them, and that you know what's going on. You're not turned a blind eye. You know exactly what's going on. You have the plan for them. I also want to lift up those who don't know you just yet, God. I know there's plenty of people who are living a life that's their own way. They're living a life that's for themselves or maybe for their families, but they're living their lives that's not for you, God. They're worshiping other things, other idols, those dolls people are buying up and spreading around. I just pray, God, that you would work in their lives as well, and that they would come to know you, they would surrender to you, and just be willing to change, be willing to accept you as their Lord and Savior. And I also want to thank you again for all that you've done in my life recently, God. You are amazing. You have done much. Now you're working on me, you're changing me. You're not done with me yet. I am a new creation. So from many years ago, but you're continually renewing me and helping me to grow and be more than I currently am, to be better than I was yesterday. So thank you for that, God, and then I pray all these things in your precious name, Jesus. Amen. All right, Revelation 14, the NIV. Then I looked, and there before me was the Lamb, standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven like a roar of rushing waters, and like a loud peal of thunder. The sound I heard was like that of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. No one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. These are those who did not defile themselves with women, for they remain virgins. They follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were purchased from among mankind and offered as first fruits to God and the Lamb. No lie was found in their mouths. They are blameless. Then I saw another angel flying in mid-air, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. He said in a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, and the sea, and the springs of water." A second angel followed and said, "Fallen is Babylon the Great, which made all the nations drink the maddening wine of her adulteries." The third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and its image, and receives its mark on their forehead or their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup of his wrath. They will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb, and the smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever. There will be no rest day or night for those who worship the beast and its image, and for anyone who receives the mark of its name. This calls for patient endurance on the part of the people of God who keep his commands and remain faithful to Jesus. Then I heard a voice from heaven say, "Write this: Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, they will rest from their labor, and their deeds will follow them." I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like a son of man, with a crown of gold on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Then another angel came out of the temple and called in a loud voice to him who was sitting on the cloud, "Take your sickle and reap, because the time to reap has come, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." So he was seated on the cloud So he who was seated on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. Another angel came out of the temple in heaven, and he too had a sharp sickle. Still another angel, who had charge of the fire, came from the altar and called in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle, "Take your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from the earth's vine, because its grapes are ripe." The angel swung his sickle on the earth, gathered its grapes, and threw them into the great winepress of God's wrath. They were trampled in the winepress outside the city, and blood flowed out of the press, rising as high as the horse's bridle for a distance of 1,600 stadia. Okay, New King James. So Revelation 14, New King James. Then I looked, and behold, a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard the voice from heaven, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. They sang as it were a new song before the throne, before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one could learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. These are the ones who were not defiled with women, for they were virgins. They are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no deceit, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, "Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and springs of water." Another angel followed, saying, "Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." Then a third angel followed him, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark in his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus." Then I heard a voice from heaven saying to me, "Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works follow them." And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and on his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, "Thrust in your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." So he who sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Then another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. Another angel came out of the altar, who had power over fire, and he cried with a loud cry to him who had the sharp sickle, saying, "Thrust your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe." So the angel thrust his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trampled outside the city, and blood came out of the winepress, up to the horse's bridle, 1,600 furlongs. Okay. So, this is, I believe, after the dragon and the woman. So he looked and now he sees 144,000 standing with him. So with Jesus, looks like, who had his name and his father's name, having his father's name written on their foreheads. Interesting. And I heard a sound of heaven like the roar of rushing waters and a loud peal of thunder. And the sound I heard was like the sound of harpists playing their harps. So there's 144,000 people all standing with Jesus, and there's loud noise, and then harpists playing their harps, and they sang a new song before the throne, before the living creatures and the elders. No one could learn this song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. It's really interesting to think about it, and maybe the words were not intelligible, but they were singing a song and you can hear it. That's probably what it was. The words just were not intelligible. They were not English or any language that they understood. John could understand, but he also understood that no one else could learn it. These are those who died, did not defile themselves with women, for they remained virgins. They followed the Lamb wherever he goes. So this 144,000, this idea has been around for, well, obviously since this Bible here, but I remember understanding that the Jehovah's Witnesses, at some point they had changed their ideas, right? They believed that they were the 144,000. When the religion started, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they are the 144,000. But this clearly says right here, these were, maybe there's a separate one. I don't know. I can't imagine that there's a separate 144,000. This clearly says that they are virgins. But then it says they didn't defile themselves with women. So that's two different things. But I think to be a virgin, then that clearly means you've never been married, never have kids. So, but it also says women. So it's kind of hinting at the idea that these are men. So 144,000 men who did not defile themselves with women. So they remained pure in that way. They never had sex. Now they were there. It says they follow the Lamb wherever he goes. So if this was in that new Living Translation, or what do they call it, New World Translation, if this verse was here, that would clearly contradict what they had taught about who the 144,000 were, because it's right there. You can't have defiled yourself with women, right? And you had to have been a virgin. So if you weren't, then you definitely weren't one of those people. So that would be terrible to find out that, oh, I'm not a chosen one. But then again, I've heard they've changed their ideas on that several times in the last, 100 years, however long that religion's been around. But I always think that's kind of funny that it's there. People don't realize. They follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were purchased from among mankind and offered as first fruits to God and to the Lamb. And the Lamb, no lie was found in their mouths. They are blameless. So I wonder if that's a qualification beforehand, or they were just made that way. No, blameless. But they were purchased by the Lamb. Because by the Lamb, they were purchased from mankind as purchased from among mankind and offered as first fruits to God and the Lamb. So they were purchased for the offerings. Verse 6, then I saw another angel flying in midair, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. He said in a loud voice, fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. So that's kind of interesting too. So that's clearly going to, so it says fear God. So probably was saying Yahweh, right? Jehovah, I'm not sure what Jehovah actually means, but I think Yahweh definitely means his name. Fear God. And he kind of identifies him too as worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. So there's, I think it's Hinduism. They believe in many gods, or even the Egyptian belief, they believe in many gods. There's a god for the sea, God for the stars, God for the sun, God for the earth, God for the moon. But this is clearly saying that this God, our God, created all those things. So he's the one true God, right? So that's what that angel's task was, to proclaim the gospel, the eternal gospel, on the whole earth, in every tribe, language, and people. Verse 8 says, the second angel followed and said, fallen is Babylon the Great, which made all the nations drink the maddening wine of her adulteries. So that's interesting. So I guess Babylon the Great, there's just mentioning that was a great city at one point, and it's fallen now. It's not so good anymore, but they also caused lots of people to become adulterers. That was part of their culture, just adultery, just relationships with anyone and everyone all over the place. It's normal. Verse 9, a third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives its mark on their forehead or their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup of his wrath. So this is where it gets terrible. So this has already happened to some people that have already received that mark on their hand or forehead. It says in the middle of verse 10, it says, they will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb. So I don't know if this means hell necessarily, but they're going to get tortured. But it's also in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever. So it will continue to rise. There will be no rest, day or night, for those who worship the beast and its image, or for anyone who receives the mark of its name. So no rest, day and night. So that was, can you imagine? Can you imagine not being able to rest? That sounds terrible. It's so important that God made it one of the commandments, right? To honor the Sabbath, keep the Sabbath, rest. But that's not going to be possible if you take the mark of the beast. It's very dangerous, or detrimental rather, not just dangerous, just condemning, terrible. This calls for patience, verse 12. Patient endurance on the part of the people of God who keep his commands and remain faithful to Jesus. Stay faithful. Then I heard a voice from heaven say, write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, they will rest from their labor, for their deeds will follow them. Ow. Hand hurts for a second. So that's interesting. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. They will rest from their labor, and their deeds will follow them. So I suppose this is a verse that kind of considers that there's going to be a mid-tribulation rapture or post-tribulation. Interesting. So there are some people that are going to be blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. There's some hope for them, I suppose. There's still some hope. They will rest from their labor, and for their deeds will follow them. Interesting. So maybe there's multiple raptures. Could be. But clearly that says some people that are from now on that can be saved, it sounds like. I looked, and there before me was a white cloud, and seated on the cloud was one like a son of man, with a crown of gold on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Then another angel came out of the temple and called in a loud voice to him who was sitting on the cloud, take your sickle and reap, because the time to reap has come, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. So is this Jesus on the cloud? This looks like the Son of Man, like a Son of Man. I don't know if it's the same, but then this angel is telling him what to do, so I don't know about that either. I don't know. So, verse 16, so he who was seated on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. So I wonder if that's one big swing, or considers that he walked the earth and kept swinging his sickle. I'm not sure of the context or how that worked, how that the intention was. But either way, earth was harvested. Another came angel out of the temple in heaven, and he too had a sharp sickle. Still another angel who had charge of the fire came from the altar and called in a loud voice to him who had the sharp sickle, "Take your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from your swamp vine, because its grapes are ripe." So it sounds like this is a time that's going to be where maybe at this point grapes are going to be in season or ripe. I'm not sure if grapes can ripen at any time of the year. I don't know. All I know is I remember being at my grandmother's house and there was a grapevine on the fence, and I don't remember ever really getting grapes from it, but I remember seeing some. It's kind of strange, but there was. I don't know what, I think it was summer. It says, "Then the angel swung his sickle on the earth, gathered its grapes, and threw them into a great winepress of God's wrath." So there's this winepress, right? The cup of God's wrath speaks of wine. And it says, "They were trampled in the winepress outside the city, and blood flowed out of this press, rising as high as the horses' bridles, for a distance of 1,600 stadia, or 1,600 furlongs." So up to the horses' bridles. I think the bridle goes in the, it's like the chest. So like basically up to as long as the horse's legs. So I don't know, 2-3 feet, 4 maybe. Flowed with blood. So a river of blood came out of that wine press for 1,600 stadia, which I believe is some type of measurement of space. So like acres. I don't know if it's acres. I really don't know, but that's a lot of blood. So in went grapes, and they pressed them, they crushed the grapes, and out came blood, and lots of it. Crazy dark picture. But that's it for this chapter. Tomorrow, God willing, we'll be in Revelation 15. We'll continue to see what's happening in the future. We'll kind of understand what's going to happen. And it's fascinating. So, we'll see you next time. Y'all have a good day. Thank you.